Hello viewers, welcome to Mythology. In this video we'll learn about the discovery of a cell and the cell theory. It sounds like a storyline although it's a fact. In the year 1661, King Charles II received a gift from the then famous architect Christopher Wren. This gift led to the discovery of cell by Robert Hooke. What was the gift? It may sound very weird to you, but yes, the gift was a simple sketch of a lice, a flea, and the wing of a fly. Was the king disappointed or happy with the gift? What do you think? Indeed, the king was very impressed by the sketch that he received and rather asked for more such sketches from the architect. Somehow, it wasn't possible for the architect to supply more such sketches. Then the king asked Robert Hooke to do the same. Now, Robert Hooke got engaged in observing insects under the microscope, and he had been making illustrations of all his findings in a book which he named as Micrographia. This book became a bestseller of his time because people were hitherto unknown to that microscopic world which they couldn't see with their naked eyes. In that meantime, when Robert Hooke was observing large number of organisms under the microscope, once he came across a slice of cork and observed it under the microscope. No one knew that this observation could change the total outlook of biology. To his surprise, he saw honeycomb-like structures under the microscope, and this resembled the prayer halls of the old monasteries, which were called as cellas. So without a second thought, he called it by the name cell, which means empty compartments or empty rooms. During this time, there was another Dutch scientist called Anton van Leeuwenhoek who grounded lenses and constructed around 400 simple microscopes. This was rather his hobby. Who had seen dead cork cells under microscope in the year 1674. Anton van Leeuwenhoek also saw several bacteria and protozoa, which he called animalcules. These structures were very fascinating to the people of that time. But later, the microscope, which had been used for the observation of such small microscopic organisms, large number of things started getting discovered. It was around 170 years later, Matthias Schleiden, who was a German botanist, he announced that every plant is also made up of large number of cells. He also added that each of these cells performed various life processes. Then, a year later, Theodor Schwann, who too was a German zoologist, he made similar discoveries in animals. He declared that all animals and plants are composed of cells, which serve as the units of the structure and the function for the organism. This was in short called the cell theory. But what was the shortcoming for these two scientists in formulating the cell theory was they could not give an idea how these cells multiplied in those multicellular organisms. It was not only multicellular organism, they had seen unicellular bacteria, multicellular mushrooms, and the largest of the organisms, which is made up of trillions of cells as the human body. Somehow, it was in the year 1855 that Rudolf Virchow he added to the cell theory, saying that all cells arise from pre-existing cells. What is true about this cell theory is that every organism, be it a unicellular, multicellular, or an organism made up of huge number of tissues, where each tissue in itself comprises of cells, are all supposed to have a similar line of functional activity. So each cell was capable of performing such functions which was possible for the organism to do in turn. That's why they call the cell not only as the unit or the fundamental unit of structure, they also call the cell as the fundamental unit of function. And the third point that was added by Rudolf Virchow was all cells arise from pre-existing cells. And of late, there is a fourth point that has been added, that the chemical composition and the metabolic activities of all cells are alike. Maybe externally the cells may look very different, but internally there are large similarities in the structure of a cell. The discovery of the cell continued to impact science, and now that the stem cells have been isolated in the 1980s and then followed in the 1998 by James Thomson, who also developed the cell lines. So the discovery of the cell had a far greater impact on science than what Robert Hooke could have thought during his years in 1665. Today, scientists are working on personalized medicines using the stem cells. What stands next in the future? It will only be seen with the days to come. Thank you for watching. Please do like, share, and subscribe to my channel.